Good morning and welcome to the Feeding House Ministries, a teaching ministry that focuses on your soul and your eternal destination. My name is Pastor Harry Craig and we thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday morning. Today we're going to talk about purity of heart and morality of life, conformity of heart and life to the divine law, the active and passive obedience of Christ by which the law of God is fulfilled, the perfection or holiness of God's nature.
Yes.
We're talking about righteousness.
Yes.
Righteousness is an act that by faith should come forth in our day-to-day lives.
Yes.
Unless God is its author, we will never possess righteousness.
Amen.
No amount of man-made effort will result in righteousness.
Amen.
God never alters the robe of righteousness to fit the man. Rather, he alters the man to fit the robe.
Jesus.
Forgiveness on the part of God always has a judicial basis, not an emotional basis. And it represents an attitude of God based upon the satisfaction of his righteousness in some way.
Amen.
If there be ground for you to trust in your own righteousness, then all that Christ did to purchase salvation and all that God did to prepare the way for it is in vain.
Amen.
And to take with us, God's standard is what defines true righteousness.
Yes.
His power is what enables it. If we walk in righteousness, he will carry us through.
Amen.
We live in a world where people tend to believe that their ways are right in their eyes.
Yes.
We find that it's hard for many to accept the absolute standard of righteousness. True and false becomes relative, and many believe that they can do whatever they think or feel is right.
Yes.
All of us are born into complete bondage to sin,
Yes.
unable to produce any sort of righteousness of our own. As a matter of fact, Isaiah 64:6 says that our attempts to produce righteousness on our own are disgusting in the eyes of God.
Jesus.
It reads, "We have all become like one who is unclean, and all of our righteous deeds are like a polluted garment.
Jesus.
We all fade like a leaf, and our iniquities like the wind take us away."
Yes.
Isaiah confessed that we were infected with sin and were unclean, impure.
Yes.
In fact, our righteousness was no better than filthy rags. Filthy rags referred to dirty, contaminated cloth that has been wrapped in a cancerous or contagious sore on a person's body. Righteousness is an attitude that belongs to God, an attribute that belongs to God,
Yes.
the lawgiver, and is manifest in his laws.
Yes.
No man can be justified by his own works apart from God's ordinance.
Amen.
Therefore, righteousness is a wonderful gift from God to humanity through his love.
Amen.
It's the God-given quality imputed to man upon believing, trusting, and having faith in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
We, humans, are inclined to our own paths and to use our own ways instead of God's.
Amen.
Notice that this selfish desire for the independent from God is in our own nature. We do not need for anyone to teach us that. But we always need discipline to remain faithful to the path of God.
Yes.
The practice of righteousness is to confess our sinfulness, to admit our need for cleansing, to admit that after all, we don't love well. This practice is to confess to go before the throne of grace, to allow God to apply the blood to today's needs. It's to be done without pretense, hiding and posing, coming clean with God and others. The word practice is obviously front row and center here. It's meaning to make, as to form, produce, construct, be the author of, prepare, provide, etc. It certainly carries the idea, if you think about it, of putting something there that wasn't there before and doing it consistently over time.
Jesus.
There will be an evidence in a life, not a veneer, a facade, or appearance of perfection, but of walking in the light and confession and cleansing. There will be evidence, not a pretense of perfect purity, but of ongoing perfection.
Yes.
The way of righteousness leads to life, not death, because God is the ultimate source of life. It means that righteousness belongs to God alone, and therefore, as we pursue God, we surely find His righteousness. Pursuing God's righteousness means putting God at the center of our lives. And here's the truth: God takes pleasure in those who pursue righteousness.
Yes.
When we realize that this world and everything in it is unstable and unpredictable, we're left longing for something that lasts.
Yes.
Delight in the Lord and in His Word, and you'll find true happiness. He alone offers righteousness and endures for all eternity. Amen.